Well, then that's a perfect time for us to say that this is the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen?
Greetings to you.
Wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
The station for you is
OTR.
We hope the station for you is OTR. That's the Old Tube Radio Network here in Central California, broadcasting for over 3 decades at 27085 on Saturday evenings, listening for, talking about, and checking in the classic tube radios from 1958 to about 1978 when they stopped making them, for the most part. But you will hear many of them tonight as our tube radio operators and collectors stop by Channel 11 to check in with us here at the Old Tube Radio Network. We are listening. Okay, there's 25. Let's get started with 25. And also, before we pick you up, Jerry, I want to say hello to waving a hand, and I may have not refreshed my page and missed him, but that's John Lee, SWL 128, checking in. Let me get you on the big board. Appreciate all our listeners from wherever they may be. And even better, we appreciate those glow-in-the-dark radios. The time, I'm going to log you in at 8:36 Pacific Daylight Time. Hello, Jerry. I hope you can hear me. Tell me about the radio on which you are talking.
First of all, I guess some of the east ship is coming in from Hawaii, and boys in Hawaii, people can hear us, so I just wish you well. Earthquakes, volcanoes, all kinds of stuff happening over there, so just wish you well. Anyway, 7025 checking in on General Radio Telephone MC5 from downtown Burbank, California. It's, boy, it was 5-channel transmit with 5. Look at it. I haven't counted the questions. But anyway, I don't think I have all the questions in there, but I have the most important question in there, which is 27.085. And anyway, we've kind of been a process in the working, so we finally got this thing back on here. Thanks to a lot of help from others, I may say. And boy, hopefully you can hear me okay. There's, again, General Radio Telephone MC5. Back to you.
All right, we've got the General Radio Telephone MC5. I had to adjust my frequency, receive frequency, and I'll do a 0 beat when we come back next time, because you checked in first. Sounded like you were real far away from the microphonium. Then it kind of sounded like you were off frequency, so we'll see. Maybe it's drifted a bit. You know how these radios can be. Sometimes they'd like to warm up for 5 minutes. Sometimes they like to warm up for 5 months. I'm hearing you fine. That's what's nice about the tube radios. Even when they drift, you can kind of find your way out. And actually, if you're not quite on frequency, sometimes that might be a good thing, especially if the center channel at 8.5 is busy. Be off to the side. Anyway, the General Radio Telephone MC5, we are showing a picture at oldtuberadio.net, and also those watching the video are also seeing a great photo from courtesy of SWL 45. So we're looking at Paul's radio, but we're listening to you, Jerry. Give us another transmission. I'm going to find out exactly where you are at on frequency, but I do hear you over.
Yeah, okay, Dennis. Pull it out and throw it around the room a couple of times and drop it on the floor to get it back on frequency, but and the same thing with the tube radios to make them work. But after a while, you know, they all of a sudden go, okay, I'm going to work. So, so there you go. Anyway, I think that I don't want to take a lot of time. I'm sure there 1 to check in radio. So, we still got you 1 might be able to back to you. 26,
All right, we got you. 86 and a half is where you're at on the frequency, and we have a little bit of the DX coming in as well, so it might play havoc with me. Jerry, SWL25 on his general radio telephone, MC5, a radio produced by the General Radio Telephone Company in 1962 and also carried through 1963, sold for about $200. Probably their most advertised general radio telephone. If you happen to see some of the posts that Crazy Bob is doing on the Antique Vintage pre-1977 site, he's got some S9 magazines, and I bet if he's got any that are from 1962 or 63, you will see an ad for the MC5 in there as well. It has the, and I should ask you, I was remiss in not asking you, Jerry, before you go, and if you can still hear me, the MC6 had something called a bullhorn, and that was the switch, the device that replaced the tone signal in that radio. So if you can hear me, give us the tone signal. In fact, give the world the tone signal on the MC5. Over.
Okay, I'll do it, and this is for Hawaii too.
Okay, hopefully that will calm the seismic activity, that will soothe the tectonic plates, and all will be good in the universe. Thanks, Jerry. SWL25 checking in on our first radio of the evening, the General Radio Telephone MC5 on the Old Tube Radio Network. Looking for radio number 2. And the break OTR SWL56, and want to mention just about our video. Say hello to John in Iowa, Juliet Whiskey, DD21, and Crazy Bob is also streaming us live on the Antique CB Radio group on Facebook. So your radios will be heard by many tonight, so choose wisely. I don't think it's that hard. I mean, if it's glowing in the dark, I'm sure it will be somebody's favorite radio. And 56, you have somebody's favorite radio. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Dennis. I think I have mine. This is a Samson. The transmitter is a model Tango 110 Alpha, and the receiver is a Romeo 101 Alpha, and the modulator is a Victor Mike. I think it's a 11 or an 11 110. Yeah, I can barely read the modulator. Over.
Well, it's working. We may, before you go, play with the modulator a little bit. This is a good radio. This will cause some controversy when we put the photo up here of the Samson, because some might say, and some have said, well, that looks a lot like my Demco. And those that have the Demco often say, well, that looks a lot like my Samson. But indeed, yours, under the modulation indicator, which I believe is a Magic I-style tube, does say Samson. We're showing the transmitter right now. Give us another transmission.
Well, yes, it is, and it does have that Magic Eye modulator monitor. My understanding is that Samson came first, and then at some point in time, Demco purchased or acquired Samson, and then after a while, Demco went belly up and was purchased by Command Electronics. As far as the modulator is not in line at this point in time. Over.
Okay, and that answers my question. We've swapped the picture now to the Samson R101A receiver. This is a big dual radio with lots of knobs, maybe not as flashy as the Demco Super Satellite, but it can certainly do some damage. So let's talk about the audio and the modulation. I would say you've got a great signal at 20 over. So you're giving me an almost full quieting signal, but your audio is probably at 50%, and you were noting that the modulator is out of line or in the out position. So we'll throw it back to you, and maybe you can show us what happens when you add the two tubes, which I believe the modulator has, to beef up the audio just a bit.
Well, okay, the modulator is in line now, and it's about in the 10 o'clock position. Let me move it up 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I don't really see much of a little bit of a change, not much, over.
It did come up. It did come up. There's a slight, I'll call it an anomaly in the audio when you increase your modulation percentage beyond a certain point. So I think where you started was probably just about right for what you want. It is picking up your voice well, and I do believe I heard the precursor to a train.
Well, indeed you did. Yeah, the train is wanting to come by. Let's see, I've got the modulator now back at about 11 o'clock, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I don't see a lot of deflection on the modulator meter over here. But I do see on the transmitter modulator, which is not related, it looks like it's not quite coming all the way together.
No, it's got audio. I was looking at the S meter. I don't see any movement at all, whether forward or back. I have a digital meter, so it's not the greatest. I would like the analog to look at what is going on. But I'm not seeing any forward nor backward movement, so I wonder if that radio could be over-peaked just a bit. And there's also a slight anomaly that is coming in with the audio as I didn't hear it at the 50% mod level, but at the 85, 90% mod level, I hear it just a little bit, and I'm not sure exactly even how to describe it, but if you listen to the archives, and we do archive the audio at oldtuberadio.net under the archives, and again, we leave the videos up for a while so you can listen in. The audio, I'm taking a direct feed out of the receiver into the sound card here, so pretty much what I'm hearing is what you will be hearing on any of the playbacks. The Samson T110A paired with the R101A transceiver. I was looking to see if I had a date, manufacturer's date on that, and I don't. So I will keep an eye out. Some of the stations listening might be able to tell us a little bit more about that. But the modulator helps greatly in making things sound good, over.
Well, real good. I do have a question perhaps somebody can answer for me. On the receiver, there's an S-meter knob, egg knob, S-meter knob, and if I turn it all the way maximum clockwise position, it increases the throw of the meter. If I turn it all the way counterclockwise, it dampens the meter back down to 0. I have no idea why it's there or what benefit that's supposed to be. I don't know if that's to S-unit out the static, and anybody can help on that one. I'm listening.
All right, I'll keep an eye out for comments. I wonder if that's a sneaky way of labeling an RF gain control, which typically will affect the S meter. Usually it brings it up from the bottom, brings your noise level, if it's at 0, it starts moving your S meter up towards 40. It could actually be a calibrator. Maybe they gave you control so you could figure out what you wanted 40 dB over S9 to be, or I think they calibrate them at S9. They say S9 should be so many dBm, minus 40 or minus 70 or minus 100. I think Art Collins had a standard of calibrating the S meter with a certain, dBm to give you an S9 reading. I could be reading in more to that S meter control than it actually is. So we'll keep an ear out, an eye out for a possible answer to that question. But the radio sounding good, both transmit and receive. You are Radio 2 on the Samson, which was the first version of what some might call a Demco. Sounding pretty good, and definitely the three-piece radio. When you have the modulator in, I do get a little bit of a chirp from the transmitter receiver. Not quite like an Eagle ping, but I can tell that the receiver is kicking out a line. Over to you for another transmission, and we'll see what we can pick up.
Well, thank you, Dennis. S-meter adjustment, if you look at the photo, if you have a photo of the receiver, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4th knob, 4 out of 5 knobs, 4th knob, and it's a large knob. It's something that looks like it's intended to be used rather than set, calibrated, set, and forgotten about. So, anyways, thank you, Dennis. Back to OTR.
Break.
And breaker acknowledged, yeah, it matches all of the other knobs, and I think those match the modulator as well. They had similar knobs on that. I'm just checking to see if anybody chimed in with some info there. Don't see anything. There's Brian, the mighty KUH, is waving a hand to everyone. 1962, thanks, Bob. Saying that was the year for the Samson. Hello to Northeast Georgia. Butterbean is out there listening. And it looks like Brian got a new power meter. Power Master 2, I'm not familiar with that. I get a picture. We will bring it up, and also a DD21. All right, made the rounds there. Said hello to all, and we have radio number 3, I believe, the breaking station. Hello, Chris.
No, I'm on solid state right now. I'm just wanting to check in right now. I'm tired.
Oh, you know, I was assuming, and we know what that means, what happens when you assume that you were there, and I look at the official item of interest, and I notice there is no X in the skirt, and we will remedy that situation now as we go to the big board and check in SWL 37. A lot of people doing things today. It was a nice day. It was very warm. It was overcast, kind of humid and muggy. So those of us who were digging holes like I was and other things, when you get out in that heat, and we're not used to the heat right now, it takes a lot out of you until you get used to it.
Well, I wasn't really in the heat. It's just that we was at a graduation party for one of our friends that graduated from seminary, became a preacher, lives up in Alaska, I believe, right? He got a job up there as preacher. Anyway, he came back to do his graduation from Fresno Pacific, and then had the party at his house. And then we come home, had to help one of the daughters load up stuff in her truck, blah, 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 blah. Then we went to the other daughter's house, for it was her birthday today, Singleton Mile, and we just got home from there, and I'm tired.
Well, that's certainly understandable, so thanks for jumping into the radio room and finding the device that did have the coax connected and getting yourself checked in. Well, we are here until 10 o'clock this evening, so if you find yourself still standing at least on one leg, you can wander in again and maybe check something in, but we've got you official.
All right. Well, Dennis, like I say, you never know with me.
That's true. You could surprise us all. Speaking of surprises, the Jingle Singers are saying they'd like to give us a little musical surprise, which we will do. Thanks, Chris, for checking. I want to say hello to Rob in Colorado. And yeah, I'm sort of waiting for the band to just open up on the E-skip tonight. And Rob has been experiencing some E-skip conditions on 6, 10, and 11 meters. 6 is kind of a fun band. Just when it opens, it's like, holy cow, you'll get those 30 over signals for about 2 minutes. And then they'll be gone, and you'll get another grid square totally not even close to the one you were listening to. So see if we can actually hear the Rocky Mountains tonight. Also want to say hello to Steve, Westchester and Oxford, Ohio, checking in here on the Old Tube Radio Network, where the Jingle Singers often say things like this.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, Your favorite slot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
Break OTR.
The Jingle Singers doing their job, getting us another check-in here. Let me bring the page up. I think you are, yes, you will be radio number 3. Mr. Ed, go ahead, please.
This one is from the E.F. Johnson Corporation, the Johnson Messenger 223.
Sounding good. I just closed the page I did not want to close. So I'll bring it back up. That way I can get a picture of the radio on which you are talking. So let's go. Well, it will be a picture similar to the model that you have. However, I don't think there is any picture on the internet that would be similar, show anything similar to your modifications on the E.F. Johnson, and I'll let you tell us about those. Back to you.
There you go. This one does have a couple of cosmetic changes. The knobs, the little metal pieces that were in them, have changed out to buffalo nickels, and the lights for the S meter and channel selector have been changed over to some nice blue LEDs. So it looks kind of nice, and hey, it lights up the dials right.
Sounds good. A little bit of, I think it's just in the microphonium, a little bit of static. You know, the crunchy wire noise. I don't think that's happening in the radio, but certainly has loud audio. You would expect that from an E.F. Johnson.
There you go. Also, maybe because it has an amplified D104, and yeah, moving the little key around here may get a little gritty. Maybe I should blow the poor thing out.
Or key it down more, although you do pretty good. And that's why we are here at least once a week. Like an old car where you might want to start it up to charge the batteries, we encourage our radio collectors to pick at least one from their collection of one or more each week and fire it up so that those problems will be worked out and the radio will be happy, and most of all, the SWLs will be happy, because we like hearing the radios. E.F. Johnson Messenger 223, that's the picture if you're at the video world or up at oldtuberadio.net. 1969 to 1972, a popular seller. This was one of their official base station radios, I do believe. I don't think there was a way to easily make this go mobile. That is to say, there wasn't a cord to plug it into your vehicle. That was left for the Messenger, the 123 and the 323 and the 2 and the Viking and all that good stuff. For $200 plus, you had a very nice radio. More information on Sam's CB23, page 53. And the best information is right here. Give us another transmission.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, nice, simple, easy radio. As you can see, there's, if you're looking on the video, just 3 knobs up there, so it's not hard to operate, and it actually has a very good receive in it, comparison even to the Tram and Browning radios or the Robin. So cannot complain. If you get this radio, like you say, you can find them cheap, and they work really well. You'll like it.
As we used to say in the advertising business, buy an E.F. Johnson, you'll be glad you did. Thanks for bringing us radio number 3 tonight here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, I was trying to see if I could find, let's see, I don't think this is going to work. I was going to try and find a picture of something, and then now I've lost everything. So before I really mess it up here, let me just stand by and say we're looking for radio number 4. And maybe some E-Skip check-ins as well. You don't have to be on any list. You don't have to have ever keyed up, or is it keyed down? No, it's keyed up on the Old Tube Radio Network prior to this time to check in with us and let us know how things are going and tell us about your tube radio.
25.
Like that guy there. Hello, 25.
Well, I'm kind of waiting for He probably can't hear me anyway. But I hope you can hear me, Dennis. 25 checking in on the Golden Eagle, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Boy, I had to spit that out. And two-piece radio and talking on the non-powered banana mic. And back to you.
Browning Laboratories, one of their most favorite or famous, or both, models, the Mark III SSB, combining AM and sideband into the now new, larger formatted transmitter that matched the size of the receiver and pretty much kept that company in business through 1976 when they had to figure out how to put 40 channels and came up with the Mark IV. Really nice audio. You are Radio 4. Give us another transmission.
Yeah, okay, Dennis. I don't know if I'm as loud as Ronnie. Ronnie was on his Browning from the Ditch Banks of Biola. That's a loud radio. And, of course, Chris's MC11A or whatever, that's a loud radio, too. But anyway, anyway, checking in, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. And you know what? It's been a long day. I drove to Mariposa, had to do a gig up there at the Butterfly Festival. I didn't see one butterfly unless there was one stuck in my radiator. But anyway, we did a nice concert up there in the park, and it was wonderful weather conditions and a lot of people. So, but anyway, I was leading up to something. I had a point. Oh boy, I lost it. But you know what? It just happens. I just had a roadblock in my mind. And like I said, it's been a long day. But anyway, hopefully this one is as loud as Ronnie's on the Ditch Banks of Biola. Back to you, Dennis.
It's very close. I'm going to say it's as loud as the Ditch Banks, but he's a little bit closer, so he had a better, a higher reading on the S meter. But I'm glad you mentioned that. I thought maybe it was just me that thought he was blowing smoke, as they say. He just seemed to be more loud than usual. Is that the way to put it from the Ditch Banks? I thought maybe it's because we've had all that sun and the Ditch Banks are actually blowing into Fresno. And I bet if you check your radiator, you will probably find more than one butterfly. Or maybe it's a moth. You know, if you find something and you're at the Butterfly Festival, tell them it's a moth. That way they won't come at you with torches and sticks. Your Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB sounding good. I want to just mention that I actually have had the opportunity to operate that radio a few times, and believe it or not, years and years ago, it hasn't been that long, we actually used that radio and that location to do master control for the old Tube Radio Network. So it's any radio that can sound that good, and Jerry is not that close to where I'm at in Midtown Fresno. He is in a whole entirely another county. So it's doing a good job. You're Radio 4. Any other comments before we go on?
Just kind of reminiscing, I've got number one, I think, transmitted on this particular radio, and we had some festivities over here in barbecues, and we're going to have to get back into doing, maybe putting something like that together again. And, but then 25 or 26, I do have a question for you. Over.
Okay, this is the question frequency. Go ahead.
Back in the day, SWO number 4 was Mother Hen, and I remember her checking in. Do you know if she is okay? Over.
You are correct. SWL4, a mother hen. I think 4 was taken over, let me see, by her son, Jason, in, shall we say, honor or memory of mother hen SWL4. So SWL4 is still on the list, but it is Jason up in Shaver Lake, which is where mother hen used to be. Mother hen, because she was up in Shaver Lake and had a really good receiver and really good ears, she was our 10-5 station. When we couldn't hear somebody, and she would be listening, but she wouldn't say much. But when we were all, the net controllers, whoever might have been doing net control at the time, would have an issue with hearing somebody, she would just easily chime in and say, oh, that was such and such wanting this. She could have been a net traffic controller for any net anywhere.
Yeah, that's the way that I remember it. That's been a long time, so I hope she's well, and pass along any well wishes to the family, and back to you, Dennis. And thanks for checking the Brownie Net.
Thanks for listening, the Old Tube Radio Network. And I popped a picture up because talking to Brian, the mighty KUH, with his new Shack edition. It's the Array Solutions Power Master 2. I have seen these. I didn't notice when he mentioned it was a meter, but that's the digital readout, and it does all sorts of interesting things. That's what Brian is doing tonight. He's put the he's put the transmitters away, or maybe he's trying to see if he can blow it up with the Drake, with the L4B. Has a firmware and software to do other items of interest. Got a coupling device. What is this? Displays VSWR, separate display and computer sensor boxes, and multiple couplers on one display. Anyway, that's what he's working with tonight. That's what I need here. I could tell before I go off the air when I was going to go off the air, rather than all the stuff that I do have. You're tuned to the Old Tube Radio Network. Let's see if the Jingle Singers can tell us about the friendly place, and we'll be looking for radio number 5.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
And we are looking for radio number 5. All right, was that someone breaking for the Old Tube Radio Network? Over. I think we've still got some gray line into the mini grass. We are streaming at oldtuberadio.net if you want an audio gate, wherever you might be. See what's happening with the frequency conditions tonight at oldtuberadio.net here at 27085. We're in Central California, and we're looking for glow-in-the-dark radios, radio number 5.
Yeah, Dennis, there was a station out there. He was really weak, but maybe give it another try.
Okay, the Old Tube Radio Network, we are listening for any and all check-ins.
Number 7.
Like that guy right there. Hello, Mr. Ed. You have... And it definitely sounds like an old tube radio. You have Radio 5, over.
Most definitely a tube-type radio. This was the TRAM TR27 Echo, 23-channel transmit and receive.
Nice, smooth audio. has a little clunk or a thump when it keys up that I kind of like. And this was the big tram for 1963. I actually think we do have a shot of that actual radio. Unlike the E.F. Johnson, with this modifications, we're going to show the Tram TR27E. So if anybody out there has one, we're going to point out something that you might not have on yours, but we'll be showing in the photo because this is what Ed has. Back to you, number 7.
Most definitely, yeah. The thump. I also hear on this side, the relays in this thing really have a snap to them. But yes, that is the very radio on which I speak, and the little item would be the little red switch right by the speaker and the dial to select your receive channel, and it was put there by a previous owner to get a funny channel or a 1 below 1.
Well, we're glad that at least channel 11 is still on band there. I'm going to switch over. If you're at ultrabradio.net, we'll switch to the advertisement from CB Horizons in 1963 for the TR27E. Another step forward in CB communications, according to Tram. And of course, I think what most people would notice about that radio, just looking at it, is the nice, large S-meter. It's something you might see on a general coverage receiver of the day. What I'd also like to talk about for those who are listening that may have the Tram 27 series, and there were a few in that model line, in the 27, the type of microphone you are using to get such smooth audio.
Yes. Well, the one they showed there in the picture, like you have there in CB Horizons magazine, is a Turner type. This one is the Electro Voice 638. I tried a Turner D104, a couple of different Electro Voices, and for some reason this radio liked this mic, so it stayed on.
Good choice. The 638 Electro Voice is a microphone that a lot of the Collins guys like to use. It works well with the high impedance tube sets, and I think it also looks very unlike a Turner Plus 2 and very unlike a D104 and very unlike a Shure 444. It looks basically like an EV638. Back to you.
Yeah, well, the earlier EVs, the 630s and somewhere they were a little different also. And yes, they are distinctive. They do not look like the Shures or the D104s or the Turners either. So, there you go. In fact, a picture I just saw come up on the computer here with the bifurcated head. And nice, solid chunk of metal.
It's almost like, take me to your leader. But yeah, that microphone will not blow off the desk in a windstorm. Sounds good. It is, obviously you could put a modulator, a Demco modulator on that and make the Tram scream a little bit more, but boy, for rag chew, armchair coffee audio, that is the way to go. Radio number 5, the Tram TR27E. We're talking with Mr. Ed, and it's sounding good for Radio 5. Thanks for bringing it by.
Oh, thank you. And with that, I should be able to get at least one more in.
All right, go TR. Okay, very good. KB6GFD. All right, back to this microphone. SWL56 out of crossband happening there. Hello, Phil. Sorry for to make you wait.
Oh, no problem, Dennis. One good tram deserves another. As a matter of fact, another TR27 Echo.
Okay, we got about 4 stations at once, but I am in conversation here with Phil, SWL56. He's got radio number 6 at 914. And he is also on his Tram TR27E. I'm going to go to another advertisement that we didn't show the first time. We don't give credit from where this is from. But I want to mention something that the next go around, go back to you for transmission, but there's something really interesting in this ad that you just don't see today, and it really tells you that Tram was very confident that you would like that radio and that it would work well. Back to you.
Well, indeed. So I've been very pleased with mine. It's one of my favorite radios. Go ahead, OTR.
Okay, and before we do that, we were talking with Ed about the microphone he's using. He was a very mellow and nice sounding, the EV638. What microphone are you, for those, again, who may have a Tram or thinking about getting a Tram, what microphone are you using on your TR27E?
This is an unamplified D104.
Another great choice, because the audio sounds great. Nice, punchy, crisp audio. I would say Ed was a bit more mellow, but this has some good punch to it. Now, on the Tram ad, at the very bottom it says, now all Tram, and there's a little red square box, and now all Tram equipment is covered by a 12-month guarantee transferable to any subsequent owner, and it says, see the warranty packed with your set. And I'm sure Phil is looking for that warranty that should have been packed with his set, but probably wasn't included.
No, it wasn't. However, I have not been in need of warranty service so far.
Absolutely. That is confidence from a company when they will give you a 12-month warranty and just it's warranted the radio and it goes with the radio no matter where it's at. So I suppose back in the day you wanted to make sure if you bought a radio from somebody that little piece of paper was with it. The Tram TR27E from 1963, their top-of-the-line radio, sounding very good for radio number 6. Give us another transmission before you go. The Skip, E-Skip is coming in. We've got some gray line. Who knows what we might hear tonight, but let's hear one more transmission from the Tram TR27E. Thanks for bringing it by.
Well, and thank you, Dennis. I'll be listening to the rest of the program and enjoying it as always. Thanks again. Back to OTR.
Number 7. Break OTR.
And we've got number 7. We will get to you. Let's see, Radio 7. We'll make you Radio 7. And the break OTR, I believe, is SWL25. Jerry, we will pick you up after Ed here at Radio 7. A couple of comments about the last two check-ins, the Tram TR27E. Crazy Bob DJ, who knows just about everything. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does know everything. I'm beginning to think that Crazy Bob does know everything about radios. He mentions that the Trams originally came with a silver cabinet, although I think the one we're showing has the green. That's the radio we'd like to check in during St. Paddy's Day, one of the green radios. And he had a Tram 27A, or the 27 model, I guess 27A, with a serial number of 26. And he sold it to Radio Walt in 1999. I never thought about checking. Maybe that's something we should do, although it's easy for me to say because I don't have to go around behind the back of the radio and look for the numbers with the magnifying glass. But maybe we should start thinking about serial numbers and find out. Maybe some of you have like serial number 001. I know Phil's got that prototype of the Courier, but something to think about, the radio operators, when you're behind the desk. Check the serial numbers out, and maybe you can dazzle us with number 6 or number 2 or 7010, the last one ever made. Sorry that I'm rambling so much. SWL7, over to you.
Comment?
Okay, we're talking about the Trams. Let's take the comment. Thanks, Ed, for standing by. Go ahead, comment.
Thank you, Ed, for your patience. Just one thing, the face of the radio is a greenish color, but the cabinet itself is a silver gray. Anyway, there you go.
All right, thanks, because the shot is sort of full face on and can't see too much of the cabinet. So I'll have to look a little bit better next time to see if I see that peeking in. All right, thanks for the update. And that's what Bob had mentioned as well. All right, let's go to SWL7 for Radio 7.
Well, this time it's the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Comment also on the 27 Tram TR27 Echo. Mine, the cabinet, is a black, wrinkled finish, and can tell by a couple of chips that are off of it. It's the original paint. There's nothing underneath.
All right, there's an E. I think Bob was saying his was the 27 original or 27A. So, as we've noticed before, on these early radios, especially mid-60s and before, you could get a production run and get totally different knobs or totally different color, or something would be in a different place, or it'd be an extra light as what we call them, the kitchen table techs were peeking and tweaking, or as we used to say in the business, making it up as they went along on some of these radios. That's something that makes it so exciting when we get 2 or 3 checking in and we have to compare notes to see which version you may have. So maybe the serial number thing is more important than we think to figure out who's on first, right? And who did what when. The Browning Eagle Mark III SSB, I will put up a photo as you give us another transmission.
And like the photo that you have up there, mine has also got the Golden Eagle D104 limited edition that they put out in 1976 bicentennial. I
know there are a lot of people that would like to have that microphonium, so hold on to it. I know you will. Sounding good. It's always good to have 7 as 7, because that's a lucky thing. Give us one more transmission, and then we'll head over to SWL25, who's standing by.
Good deal, and definitely be waiting to hear what 25 has for our listening pleasure, and I'll put it aside and take a listen.
All right, very good. Reminder that, speaking of taking a listen, you are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network. We are transmitting in Central California, live at 27085. So if you want to check to see if there's any E-skip conditions, if you're here on the West Coast, give us a listen at 27085, channel 11. Everywhere else, you can hear us at oldtuberadio.net, or maybe you are watching us on the YouTube video, which we will keep online for a little bit, and we do archive the radios as well. We have been doing this on Saturday nights most of the time for the last 33 years or so. And the reason we have been doing it for so long is because we have some great tube radio operators and collectors that like to get on the radio. And we're glad that they do. 25, I hope you're hearing me through all the noise. Hello, Jerry.
Yeah, actually, I am hearing you just fine. I do have an item of interest to check in. But 45 up there in the hill has been trying to check in. So I'm going to pass the baton to Paul up there on the hill. Go ahead, Paul. I don't know. Maybe you can call him, Dennis, but yeah, he was trying to check in earlier, maybe like 5 minutes ago.
Okay, I know we had a couple of stations all at once. I wonder if he was in that mix, and I somehow missed picking it out of my RX here. Stand by for Radio 8, Jerry, if we can't get a hold of Paul. SWL45 up in North Fork, who has... We talk about the collectors that has one radio, and we're glad that if you have one, you can bring it by. Paul has one plus about 100, I think. Paul, SWL 45, can you hear me? Over. All right, nothing heard unless he's on the less than 1 watt radio, or perhaps he's in the midst of a coax change. So while that is happening, let's go ahead and log you in as radio number 8, Jerry, and tell us what you've got.
Thanks, Jerry. Oh, well, there he is. Go ahead.
Oh, all right. Hello, Paul. Can you hear net control? Over.
For the particular moment, yes. I don't know how long it's going to last. I think you're right about having a coax problem or something going on here that's not making any sense at all right now.
Okay, I'll keep my transmissions short. You sound great right now, so keep an eye on the wiggle meters. Nice audio and a good signal, and we'll take it back to you, and we'll find out what's happening up there and what the radio is. Over.
Okay. Well, the skip, for one thing, when it comes in, it's strong enough it bugs you completely out. I can't hear anything but in. So that's probably part of the trouble, but it's still not, the radio's not working properly. I can watch the meter, it's not going. So, no telling. Anyways, I want to check in my Super MC8 general radio telephone.
I was thinking with audio like that, might be a general radio telephone, could be a Buddy Bass, could be a Tram, but the first in the Super Series, the MC8, it looks good on the meter. You're keying up maybe S8, and there is a lot of forward modulation coming through. So I'm going to say whatever's happening is happening in a good way. I'll put up a picture, which I believe is one of your MC8s. I don't know if it's the one on which you're talking, but we'll find out. Over to you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's wanting to work right now. I don't know what's going on, Dennis. I really don't. We'll figure it out eventually, I guess. But it just gives up. That might be what will have to happen to it. But anyway, the MC8, that was it's a big change when they had the MC8. They went to turret and everything on the thing. And in fact, the MC7 had that too. But this is the change of the whole front end. They got away from the old style. The MC7 was plain and pretty. Then they changed this up. So it's the big MC8.
Super MC8 from General Radio Telephone. Wait, it just sounds great. Nice, loud audio. And for our listeners that may not be aware, Paul is in the foothills north and east of where I'm at here in Midtown Fresno. So he's probably 35 or 40 miles away. And that is the audio that's coming out of that radio. Originally selling for the typical price. It looks like they didn't even raise it for the Super MC8, $199.50, 9 tubes. 24 channels, and it does have, what was it, the Civil Air Patrol. I'm showing a frequency of 26,620 megacycles. Remember back in the day, megacycles. And that would also run 12-volt DC if you had the proper cable. 9 tubes total. And I'm looking for that is before the ECLL 800, it appears. I think they're running a 6AL11 or something, but it's not the tube that I thought would be in there. But boy, it has great audio. Over.
No, that tube comes in the next radio. That's the big boy. That's where they had their big change when they got into the 9s. You know, that when they did everything when they got into the 9s. So hopefully, if they'll let me, I'm going to take my 9 into 9 if I can get out to you. Thanks a man, Dennis, and thank you, Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry, thanks for standing by so we pick up the Super MC8, and the photo that we're showing is radio from one of the radios from Paul's collection, his extensive collection of the General Radio Telephone radios, and he also has some of the accessories that go with it. 00 kicking in saying that he had a late model TR-27E bought in 65, and it had the silver cabinet as well. This is the Old Tube Radio Network, and we are looking for radio number 9.
25.
And hello, 25, over.
And boy, I was convinced that radio that Paul just checked in on was smoke and blown smoke. It was perfect for cutting through the ECF. A lot of highs. Paul just saying for FYI, a lot of highs on that mic combination you have. But it sounded wonderful. Anyway, just real quickly, we have, I don't know if we've had a sonar check in tonight, so why not check in the sonar, Model G? I mean, it's just simple. It's just Model G. There's nothing much more to tell you. It's 11 channel, or no, actually, let me look at this one more time. It looks like, 8 channel transmit, and it does have a VFO, and this one has a meter on the front of it. I'm talking on the stock, big sonar mic, and boy, I don't know what else to say, but it's the sonar Model Z. That's That's all I have to say. Back to you, Dennis.
And you've said enough. We have a great shot of a Sonar Model G thanks to SWL 135. The microphonium, which I believe you're referring to, sitting on top of the radio, and it is large. So I'm sure that's not a real small radio, and the microphone is big. It's got a nice big area, big element. Not sure if it's dynamic, ceramic, crystal, but it has great audio. The Sonars are known for really loud audio, and I think that's what's promoting our radios that we're checking in tonight, because we are in the E-skip gray line conditions for the Pacific Islands here on the West Coast. And it's going to take a little brawn and a little beef to get through the noise. So a lot of the stations pulling out their loud arsenals. This is one of them, the Sonar Model G. That was, I got a price point of about $230 on that one back in the day. Sounds really good. Let's hear more from the Model G. Over.
Yeah, okay, Dennis. And actually, I think it was designed for a mobile radio, and there was a lot of options for you to have. For example, a built-in speaker or no built-in speaker, because most people, when they had used as a mobile, they'd probably want an external speaker. So that was an option, and of course I have the mounts and everything. The mount brackets are on there, but I'm sure this was all designed for to be a mobile radio. And boy, one of these days I'll get back. Maybe I had my '67 Oldsmobile 442 that I restored, and I was going to put one of these in it just to make it all, to make the package work the way it should have been. But I had to sell it. I didn't have to sell it, but somebody made an offer that I could not refuse, so the Oldsmobile is gone. But I still have the Sonar. Anyway, thanks for checking it in, Dennis, and back to OTR.
Well, don't feel bad. Maybe you kept the right thing, the Sonar. I remember the 442. I remember being over there doing the net, and I think when Bozo Control took over, I snuck out of the radio room and took a peek at the 442. I believe it was sort of I want to say metallic light blue or metallic blue or blue-green, or if I remember correctly. I might have even opened the door and sat in the no, I didn't do that, but I do remember the 442, and I get the image with that car, and the Sonar radio would have been a perfect thing. Radio number 9, the Model G, and it is really loud. I hope you get a chance to listen to it on our archive playback.
Hey, thank you, Dennis, and back to you, back to Matt.
You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
You're listening in the latest style at
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
And a note, a comment from Crazy Bob, who gave us the, what is it? He told us about the flush to talk. Here's another one. He says they used to call the large, I hope you're listening, Jerry, they used to call the large Sonar hand mic that we had in the picture, I should bring it back up here, the piece of toast. Let me bring the shot back up, because I think that is possibly apropos. I was trying to figure out, because that is just a real large microphone in there. I'm going to click back over to the video. So pick your favorite white wheat or sourdough and key up on your Sonar radio, the Old Tube Radio Network listening.
Break OTR. Let him know that I totally understand what he's talking about, man, and appreciate him coming back. Back to you.
All right, we should all be able to key up with our piece of toast. That piece of toast never sounded so good. The break OTR, I believe that was you, 56. You are Radio 10, if indeed you have a radio.
I do. Back when the day when Lafayette's ruled the airways, this is a Comstat 25 Bravo.
Lafayette was very popular back in the day. And when we first started the old Tube Radio Network in the mid-'80s, it was more often than not, that the Lafayette's would be the most heard manufacturer over the general radio telephones and the Brownings. The Sonars also did pretty good back then, but we don't hear very many more, so that's a good choice to back up our sonar with the Lafayette. And you said it was and I'll find the picture here once I know what I'm looking for, the Comstat 25 Bravo, over?
Yes, indeed. It has a bit of more of a modern styling to it.
Yes, it does. I suppose if you wanted to get your radio out of the garage or out of the shop and into the living room for the XYL, or maybe sneak it next to the Kenwood or the Scott Stereo or the Sansui, it might just fit right in. I do believe one of the reasons is these were now import radios from Japan, so they probably matched a lot of the import stereo gear as well. And I think they were calling them, there was a thread going on the one site, the furniture radios. So I don't know if there's any wood on this one, but I guess we could classify it more in the furniture category. Back to you for transmission.
Well, yeah, it's more of a living room than garage Radio Shack type styling. At any rate, 23 channels. I don't know the year of production, but I want to say it's probably right around the corner from the transistorized phase block loop type radios, over.
Yeah, early 70s perhaps, and it was the Panasonic, a Panasonic chassis. I don't know if this was, getting some wind through here, the infamous one like the T123B and all of that, because it sure has a different configuration, so it might have been a different Panasonic, but it's nice and loud. For anyone who is out there listening that may have one of these radios and likes your sound, what are you doing for microphonium?
I'm using an amplified D104 with the range boost on, and now the range boost is off. And now it's on again.
A range boost doing the range boost thing. I hear you either way. You're a good full quieting, I think it was okay, I think I'm still broadcasting on the video. We had a big internet glitch. Looks like we're still on the air. The old Tube Radio Network, Real Radio is going in the dark. We're looking for Radio 11. And you can hear the skip in the background. Not sure where it's from. Well, listen.
Break OTR.
Can't find the foot switch here. The break OTR, go ahead. I believe it is 47.
It is 47. I'm going to scream at this radio. I think, is this Radio 11?
This is, I should say, Radio 11 at 9:39 Pacific Daylight Time. I got distracted. I have the window open behind me to cool down the room, and all of a sudden there has been a large windstorm come up here. I don't know if where you're at outside there, but you can see the flora and fauna blowing around in the back, and it's starting to blow papers off of the desk here, so I may have to go do something about the breeze. But in the meantime, let's talk about radios. Back to you.
Well, I was listening to you on another radio, but I thought since it was the 11 spot or tube radio, I checked in my Gauntlet G11. Not one of my better performing radios, although I gotta say I'm screaming into it right now. And that guy, man, it looks really good. I have no idea what it sounds like. But I like that guys. I don't like screaming into a microphone. I'm sure it's getting pretty wet right now, but well, hopefully it's working.
It's working great. And we made a comment earlier about the band being noisy, the channel being noisy, a little bit of skip, and everyone has been bringing out their biggest and best. So the little Gauntlet, the little radio that could, the one-channel radio of 1959, I believe, 58. This radio may have actually been advertised in QST magazine for the inception when they went to the Class D 11-meter service. So the Gauntlet, we'll see how a one-channel radio can hold up against the noise tonight. So far, so good. Don't blow up anything, but keep up the good audio. It's sounding good, and you can tell how you're doing by watching that magic eye tube as you talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely, that was one of the sales features, at least for me on this thing. I have a soft place in my heart. This one does have one in the upper left-hand area of the front of the radio. I understand that I think a lot of these Gauntlet G11s got put out with just like I guess a regular modulation lamp, I'm assuming. I've never seen one with just a regular light bulb out there, but I think I was looking at Harvey and I were looking at a schematic, and I think all the schematics basically just had a regular light bulb in there versus a magic eye tube. I could be wrong on that, but it's a fun radio to use. You're not going to be changing microphones on it. This one has the original. Gosh, what do we call this thing? The ice cream style microphone? You're going to have to clarify something.
Yeah, we used to call it the ice cream cone style microphone. I believe it's a Shure. I've got one in a box somewhere, and I can never remember if it's a Shure, or an electric voice, or an static. Maybe it's an static that came to, because I have a Johnson Messenger that has the standard E.F. Johnson mic, but in the box was an unwired microphonium like that, because it's similar to the E.F. Johnson, the Gauntlet communicator. These were all the single, 4-channel radios back, the early radios when you needed one channel, no S meter. The microphones were wired in because the manufacturers, I think, were reading the rules, and they're saying, well, you're not supposed to talk hobby communications. You're not supposed to talk 150 miles. Why would they need an S meter? Why would they need all these fancy things? Because they're basically going to be saying KEO 8492 base to Unit 1, bring home some bread. That's what the Citizen Band radio was supposed to be. So these early radios really have that written all over. There's nothing in this radio that says, I'm going to give you a radio check and we're going to have idle hobby-type chit-chat communications for the rest of the evening. Over.
Oh, that's extremely interesting, at least it is to me. I just love your stories from someone that actually did use it to have their wife, but I guess I can say that because back in the 50s, I guess the wife stayed at home. I know that's not politically correct to say that, but boy, one of the wives out there were licensed to use the CB radio. Maybe have their husband at 59 Chevy, because the horrible kids bring home a little bread or whatever. Maybe they have some beer or something. I don't know. I don't know what else I can say. I do like the microphone. I've always found it curious that out of all my tube radios I have my collection, it's the only one that does not have a pigtail cord on the mic. It's just a straight cable. And there's something nice about it. You feel like you're not tethered, to some other thing that's kind of curious about this particular radio, it looks pretty good. The heat job on it is not bad. I am missing, however, I think on the top of the radio, the top of the radio, assuming there used to be two, Chrome Plus that was probably about the size of a pencil orienter, that one would remove if you're going to do fine tuning on the radio. I don't have those things on this one. It's just long gone. I don't know if you want to comment on that. But fun radio to use. This particular one looks great. It is missing. But I think what this can make up of those is a really cool 1950s. So I guess Canada, we figured out Canada, I guess Galaxy was 27.5. So there it is.
All right. Just trying to get back on frequency. I had you dial off to the side a little bit. That's what I like about tube radios, when they're off frequency just a little bit and we have a noisy channel, which we do. It's the frequency is getting very noisy. I think conditions are opening up. So again, if you're listening on oldtuberadio.net and you think you might be in the E-skip zone here on the West Coast, give us a listen at 27085 and see what's happening. The Gonset G11, the communicator, what I was going to mention is Gonset, that also made amateur radio gear, made a series of citizens communicator radios for 10 meters, 2 meters, and 6 meters. And I believe most all of them were sort of in a portable style with the handle, but if I recall correctly, all of them used the Magic Eye tube, or a Magic Eye tube, for audio. So I'm going to say that may have been a standard issue, the Magic Eye, on the 11-meter side as well, because it was called a citizens communicator. Doing a good job. I'm not going to hold you too long, because I know you're shouting in the microphone. We want to save your voice so you can have it for all the things you need to do next week. The band is getting busy, but thanks for putting the little radio that could, breaking through the skip tonight, doing a good job on its one channel. Over.
Oh, it's always my pleasure. Thanks for letting me check it in.
and somehow it's morphed into something even bigger.
Yeah, I think it's tripled in size. It seems to have developed some sort of a ping.
No doubt you have replaced the transmitter with a receiver and a transmitter. And tell us about what appears to now be radio number 12.
I don't want to be a hog. I know it's getting close to 10 o'clock. But for your listening pleasure, a Browning R27S23. I don't have to scream as much into this particular radio to make the modulation lamp on the transmitter work. This one does have more frills to it, not the least of which is it's really ginormous on the air lamp on the transmitter. I like it. On that job, that you've got the Magic Eye tube to kind of light up and to draw your attention to it. This thing's got lots of lights, lots of knobs, and for those who really, I guess, aren't intellectually, I don't know how to say this. I'm drawn to the simple things in the radios. I wish I could build one myself, but unfortunately, it's the cheap lights that get my attention. How's that sound? It's all the packaging.
That's right. We're trying to keep it simple, and it works quite well. The first in the series of Brownings to bear the name Eagle, the R27S23, R being the receiver, the S the sending unit or the transmitter, from 1964 to 1966. There was a Series 1 and a Series 2. The picture we're showing is from SWL 58's collection, and he's also including, which Mike does not have, the 180 business amplifier, but that was a package to go with that. $359. So let's see, back at the time you could spend $159 or $160 on a general radio telephone. Add a couple hundred to that, and you would have this radio. The Browning Golden Eagle Series 2, which I think is the one you have, has the neon modulation indicator and the lighted on the air indicator, which you were talking about. So I believe you have a Series 2. Over.
I'll take your word for it. Yeah, I think it was a Series 2. You know, I think the only thing, I'm really horrible at describing these radios. I think the only new comment I can make is, you know, these tube radios obviously generated quite a bit of heat. For the first time, as far as I can remember, I'm noticing this Browning R27933 actually has cooling fins on the bottom of the case on the radio. That's amazing. I've never noticed this. Heat's going to be ejected from the bottom of the radio. I can't believe that heat travels up. But fun radio to use. This one,